you will watch on this podcast.
I land in a situation where somebody so happens to find out I self-published a book. The sales were terrible, but they knew me as a person and they knew what I was about and they knew my authenticity. And there are still people that look for that. I mean, I know anybody can write a book, but there are still companies that want, so they approached me because they said, you do this, because it's what I do. It's not just what I talk about, it's what I do.
Welcome back to this Wellness Billion podcast, my friends. It's so nice to see you again. So nice reading your comments and your feedback about this amazing podcast. Thanks to everyone that's subscribed in this channel. If you're still not subscribed, pause, subscribe, and continue the video. Today we have a special guest, again, with a topic that we never tackled. Just to let you know, this podcast is divided by 3 different sections, 3 different articles that we're going to tackle, we're going to read, and we're going to debate in our 3 different generations that we have today. I'm going to let Carrie, my dad, to be able to introduce briefly the guest before she can introduce herself, because there's no better person to be able to introduce ourselves than ourselves.
Thank you, Yassine. Thank you. It's good introduction, Yassine. Good introduction. Thank you. Well, today, my friends, we have an outstanding guest, Sherianna Boyle. Sherianna is an outstanding woman. She's an author of 11 books, figure out, including the best-selling Emotional Detox series and Just Ask Spirit, I think it's Free Your Emotion to Energize. Yes?
Intuition.
There's a book about intuition also, and discovering the purpose. Sherianna is a leading expert in emotional wellness, as we felt, and she founded Emotional Detox Coaching at the Cleanse method, right?
Correct.
You find an emotional way to cleanse the brain, and she has a mindfulness approach for processing emotions and unlocking intuition. And with over 15 years of experience and an adjunct as a professor in psychology and mindfulness, Sherianna combines academic insight with practical teaching. So she's also host Just Ask Spirit podcast, which you can go to, guys. And she guides the listeners toward emotional clarity and healing and purpose. Is that right?
You got it. Yeah. You got it all. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your voyage. Tell us about your experience. What got you to what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I was in the school system for a long time. I was a school psychologist, and then I started to have children. And when I left to have my first daughter, I had a hard hit leaving because didn't realize I was on the fast train there. And then all of a sudden everything came to a screeching halt and I'm changing my life. So I had my daughter with the intention to go back to work. The more I was out, the less I wanted to go back. I think a lot of people feel like that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I can't do what I was doing and raise her. I just can't. There's no way, because that job required so much of me. And now I have this new person. How am I going to do that? So I started to write about it. I started writing and kind of fleshing out my thoughts about that. How do we, and what exactly are we doing? And that's when I came upon this, I started to write about the power, where does the power come from when we do what we do? And when you work in the schools, you get a lot of curriculum, tools, policies, procedures. And I thought, well, is this the power? No, this isn't the power, the tasks and the programming. That's not what gives it its strength. It's us. It's what's inside of us. So you can have a million tools, but it really comes from inside that powers that tool. I can take the same tool as the two of you, and I might use it differently. So that's what kind of got me writing. And then lo and behold, a publisher approached me. I didn't even look for a publisher. They came to me. They knew I was writing, and they knew I had a knack for mindfulness, and I've written 11 books ever since. It just kind of changed my career into a new direction.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And do you have a specific, like the one little reason that made you want to go 100% into mindfulness?
Well, I think it was that insight. Like, what is it? Really wanting to know, is this what makes me, is this what makes it all happen? And the curiosity, and also the fact that I stopped and then I was getting symptom. So I think sometimes we live such a busy life, we don't even notice something is a symptom, that we're breaking down, that we're suffering from anxiety, that we have some depression. We're just push through to the next thing and the next thing, become very goal oriented, or we become so focused on making everyone else happy. And so, yeah, when I stopped, it was a little bit of falling apart. It's like I was, again, it was on the treadmill. So what made me go in is I didn't feel well. Stopping, and
It was a
now,
kind of therapy, wasn't
because
it?
you're feeling everything, you're realizing, oh my God, I'm not taking coffee 24/7 now to keep going for 12 hours. So that's different. I'm not drinking soda. That's different. And then, plus I'm raising a child. That's different. And so I wasn't feeling well. But I didn't want to live a life on antidepressants. I knew that. I knew I was probably, I was depressed, and thought, where am I going? Where am I heading? But I knew that wasn't the route for me.
All right.
I have a hard enough time taking aspirin, honestly. Like, I'm just like one of those people that very sensitive to everything. And so that's what made me go 100%.
This diving into that universe, I mean, this diving into this universe might be a kind of therapy for you also.
The writing definitely was, but I didn't know I was writing a new direction of my life. And then again, the universe, like you say, that the fact that it came to me and someone said, I heard you're writing and people are interested in mindfulness. So, we're talking back in, my first book was published in 2012. So the topic wasn't as heavily covered. People were still afraid of mindfulness. They were nervous about using those terms. Now it's so accepted. So I was like at the beginning of all of that. And then I said, sure. So I wrote a book for children and parents, for children with anxiety after that. And then that led to a couple other books. And then eventually I was like, can I write something I want to write about? And they were like, sure. I was like, I want to write about emotional detox. And so then they were like, okay, that sounds great. So then I sort of went off and carved out about emotions, what they are, what happens when we process them, what happens when we don't, how does that affect us? And that, ever since then, that's sort of been the foundation for anything I write about, is emotionally based.
We actually know a lot about mindfulness, and we've been hearing a lot about mindfulness. But if I need to define what mindfulness is, what is it? What is mindfulness?
Well, I think that's a good question. Mindfulness is about being present, being in the moment. I tend to lean more into, what is an emotional detox for me? That feels a little bit more, now you're getting into the deeper level of work. I think mindfulness is being self-awareness, having that sense of self-awareness. And some people do it more naturally than others. Let's face it. Sometimes it's, sometimes we're kind of more born with some of these traits, quite frankly. Some people, just like someone might be talented in one area. And so, but it is, we have multiple intelligences. And so for me, it was more about becoming emotionally intelligent. And how does that look? And what is, and that was carving out emotional detox, which ended up being, so I went from mindfulness into emotional detox. I wrote 3 books on that. And then eventually into my latest, which is Just Ask Spirit, which is all about how emotions open us up to spirit. So when you say mindfulness, it's about being conscious, being present, being aware. And again, not everybody's right out of the gate knowing how to do that. Some people need more practice than others. Also depends on your situation and what's going on in your life. So it's a choosing a life where you're going to pay attention.
There's I was working in a bank before heading back to Morocco, and I was always into moving, doing financial operations, like not even realizing what I was doing until I bumped into a book that changed my life completely. It was about the moment present by Eckhart Tolle, this German philosopher, and it struck me because this book showed me how you have to forget about the past, forget about the future, and live and live at the present moment. And this book made me start early on in my age. I was about 22, 23, realizing the power of meditation, and I started meditating since then. Then you have a learning curve on meditation, letting you really live the moment present. Maybe you will talk about it later on, but at one moment, I think with the law of attraction that attract the people to you, funneling you to that wonderful talent that you worked on for so many years, is probably sometimes stroking other people, reading your books or reading Eckhart Tolle books, and realizing that the grounding, the personal grounding, and as anyone can feel he can do or she can do, is essential and is a pivot in life.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's pretty cool when somebody reads something and it just kind of sets you on a new path, of meditation or things like that, and you get inspired by that. But absolutely, the grounding. I mean, that's what emotions mean to me. They provide us, they're a resource for grounding, they're a resource for safety, contrary to what a lot of people think. A lot of people are afraid to feel. They're afraid, they feel like it'll make them feel unsafe, vulnerable, too open. And I think that they are the avenue to feeling safe. They open
Yeah.
you up. And so meditation, that can be a way, an avenue for that. It's not for everybody. Like I said, some people aren't going to be drawn to that. Some by nature, they might enter a different way, but that safety piece, if the body doesn't feel safe, it's going to break down, and not just physically. Our relationships break down. It takes a toll on us. Our levels of connection and happen right in front of you, and you don't even realize it until somebody walks in and says, "I'm not happy anymore," and you're like, "What? How can you say that? I do everything. I pay the bills. Right? What
This
the
"you
heck?"
have everything" thing
Right?
is really something that annoys me sometimes. You have everything. Come on, what do you mean
Yeah.
everything?
You're not happy? What more can I do? And so, yeah, but I mean, you can get hit right in the face, which a lot of people do. They get slammed and they're like, "What? I thought this, but you were thinking that." And that's the fast lane.
Yeah, I think you responded to the first article. So have the floor, Sherianna. Read the first article so that we can dive on it. But
Okay.
most of the article was also already talked about. But let's go.
Okay. So I gotta clear my throat for this one. So this is about already put up Christmas decorations. This is what it reveals about your inner psychology. Psychologists suggest that putting up Christmas decorations early can reflect a desire to extend the feelings of joy and comfort the season brings, offering a sense of control and predictability. For many, decorating early is linked to childhood memories and the comfort of tradition, which can trigger positive emotions and provide emotional stability. Research indicates that decorating early may be a coping mechanism for those experiencing stress or loneliness, as it creates an environment of warmth and social connection.
Yeah, so here we are. We are in the right period of decorating our trees, and it's a real good. It felt to us, Yassine and I, that was the right period to speak about that. So, Sherianna, your work often explores the emotional and psychological layers behind everyday behaviors. Do you think early Christmas decorating is more about seeking control or reconnecting with childhood joy? And what did this tell us about the emotional wellness?
Well, I could see a little bit of both. I think for some people, it is reconnecting to definitely, I've seen that in my own children, reconnecting and myself, like, oh, I forgot you made this, or I forgot you did this. I'm so glad I saved this kind of thing. And that does definitely bring up some warm feelings, fuzzy feeling. We remember, okay, this is why I do this. This is why I put myself through all of this stress for this moment to take out this ornament and have that moment of, oh, yeah, like I remember this. And that definitely can bring a sense of comfort. Anything that brings connection is going to bring comfort to the body. And in terms of early, well, it's like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like early sometimes can feel a little rushed
Uh,
in my experience. What do
I
you
mean,
think?
personally, I love it when it's when people bring the Christmas decoration early. Why? Because it makes the Christmas spirit last longer, and we all know that Christmas spirit, it's one of a kind. When you go to a city or to a country where everything is decorated, and you walk on the streets and you see the decorations and the ambience actually that's outside, it's kind of, yes, you're cold outside, but it's heartwarming. It's like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is pretty nice. It gives you obviously the need and the want to spend money because it's Christmas. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna make myself a Christmas present, but it gives a whole spirit. And if you only decorate for like a week or so, I don't know. It's kind of a missed opportunity to feel this Christmas vibe, this Christmas spirit, which is for me one of the best. I love summer, but Christmas spirit, it's I believe one of the best of the entire year.
So what do you
And
think? What do you guys like? Like 3 weeks, a month? Like
yeah,
what's
what
your
we do, again, it's a matter of family practice because what we do is, uh, I know my wife loves putting up a tree and decorating it. So she starts nearly on the 10th of December, figure out. So the tree
okay?
is up
Oh,
and running on the 10th
that's
of
not too
December.
early. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
then it goes until
No,
nearly the
no,
20th
no,
of
you're wrong.
January.
You're wrong. She starts at the first of December.
Sometimes the first, but I say 10th of December. But that brings this kind of magical spirit to the house. And we invite people for dinner. We celebrate Christmas, whether it's not Christmas. We're Muslims, by the way, and we don't normally have Christmas in our religion, but we do it because of the magic it brings. And it's a historical factor also that we have to acknowledge. It's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's in the Torah. So we acknowledge it as a universal moment for everybody. But that brings the sparks that Yassine talks about when he goes out and he goes, like when we go to Germany, for instance, or France, or any European countries, or in the US even, there is magical about it. But as a kids, as far as I remember, we had this tree with my parents since I was just a small kid. I mean, I never remember a year where we had no tree, no
do you
presents.
have a fake tree? Do you guys do a real tree?
Fake.
It depends. Now we have a fake tree
So
because
do
it's
I.
more practical. It's
Well,
beautiful,
you
by the
can
way.
start earlier with a fake tree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I guess
absolutely. That's what we
that's
do.
that's what I do. The thing when I'm talking early, I'm not a big fan of like November.
Yeah, I agree.
I
November is
like
still Thanksgiving and all.
it feels a little rushed. Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Like when
We
it's
still
like
have
shoved down
the
my
chicken.
I someone sent me a Christmas card in November. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, come on, this is not a race. This is not a race." But so I get you when you have a fake one, you can keep it up longer and you can put it up
Exactly.
earlier. So yeah, I actually have two. I have two Christmas trees.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Oh, you see, one every room.
I like to have two. I love to. There's nothing like meditating next to a Christmas tree.
Oh, interesting. Let's try that
Right.
tonight.
Try that. So I have one in my room where I meditate. I have a Christmas tree in there, which stays up for a long time. And then because I don't put a ton of decorations on that one, that's more like lights and little, like little, I don't know, what do you call it? Pine cones
Mhm.
and things like that. The other one's all dazzled up. So then when one comes down, the other one's still up. So I still feel that spirit that you guys are referring to. So yeah, I mean, I love the spirit. I do have empathy for people who, I know a lot of people who don't decorate because they live in an apartment. They just don't have enough room. They don't have storage and things like that. I definitely, a lot of people, living on their own now.
Yeah, you see, I believe apart from the religious part, what happens is that this period creates a kind of anchor to joy, to something that has a magical
Yeah.
effects. Like it's like when you come to Disney, for instance, we were going with the kids to Disney nearly every 2-3 years because we needed that magical moment. And when I believe we can also. I mean, we could also design some wellness calendar that would incorporate those micro celebration, allowing people to recreate this joy that they have on the comfort of like Christmas, and put it in regular intervals so that we can really feel that all year long we have this like say emotional balance, and we could also develop some. I was going to speak about tech for a while, for a minute. Like developing this kind of sensory based wellness tools, like mood enhancing lights in or nostalgic sense, even the sense, one of the
Yeah.
most potent trigger, and it will bring up emotional stability and connection. You remember about holiday, whereas you can be in the middle of the year working hard for whatever reason, but it brings you back to your tradition and bring to your everyday stress some kind of magic, because not we cannot overpass stress. Stress is here. Stress
Yeah.
is something we have to embed because it can happen at any minute. We have just to manage stress because stress is a constant thing in our life. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what I love about Christmas is I love the feeling of light. I think it's like that. There's when you say magic, I think of light. Bringing the light in, the spark from within, and sometimes that spark is just that moment where you're like, you've been really annoying me lately, but I really have this heartfelt moment for you. Like I was thinking about my girls, like buying gifts for each other. And I know what they got for each other because they come and tell me and they say, guess what I got for so and so. And they're just so thoughtful. And we're not always like that all year long. Sometimes, during the year, we're like, oh, you're just annoying me. And the last thing I want to do is buy you a gift. But something about Christmas just opens up your heart again. And for me, it's that light that we let in, and letting our guard down, and being open to what's important. I think that's the spark, of the meaning. And my girls, now that they're older, I don't know how you guys feel, but they really tell me that like not all families get along, guys. Like we're really lucky we all get along. And they know families where they're not even talking to each other anymore, or they don't see each other. I mean, this is the reality out there. That now that they're older and been out, they come home and they say, this is not the norm here, at least in the United States. I don't know what it's like for you guys.
Well, let Yassine tell us about these photo sessions that we have during this period, or whatever gathering
No.
we have, because they used to hate it. The kids used to hate it. Now they
Mhm.
all love it, Sherianna. And Yassine will tell
No.
us why.
The photo sessions?
I mean, it's not that we love it or not. It's just that we know that it's kind of memories that we're going to be able to keep for a long time. I mean, forever, and that's the beauty of it. The beauty of this.
But Yassine,
What?
you have to remind that in the beginning you were doing like a,
Yeah, but that's completely normal, because at the beginning, I mean, when you're a kid and you have your parents asking you for pictures, you're always like, ah, no, too many pictures. Okay, let's take one, but that's enough. And then, obviously, you realize when you grow up, wow, those pictures that we took when we were kids, all together for a family gathering or whatsoever, they're beautiful. Why? Because it reminds you of amazing memories that you had, and mainly those amazing memories are made in this kind of holidays, in this kind of season, because we're gathering around an amazing meal all together, taking pictures whatsoever. It's not like the picture that we're taking at a restaurant on a Sunday, for example. No, it's not the same. When you're having a gathering of Christmas, for instance, that's what we're talking about today. It's an emotion. It's emotions that trigger you, something, I don't know how to call it. It triggers you another emotion, let's call it like this, but it's something that's kind of priceless. So that's why, for me personally, when I go around cities that are all decorated in Christmas early, makes my memories come back and have an amazing feeling, amazing emotion inside of me. Maybe other people are not going to be like this. Maybe for other people, Christmas is something that they had like very bad memories on Christmas. So having Christmas decorations can remind them of something bad or whatever. But personally, again, because it's all about our personal opinion, I love it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
good to know. So that we, I mean, I would encourage people to bring elements of holiday joy in their
Yeah.
everyday life, all year young, all year long. I mean,
You
to
know, sorry, I'm gonna cut you real quick because I just remembered about something that Sherianna said. Mindfulness, it's living in the present, is bringing you in the present. I feel like Christmas is actually bringing you in the present. When you're having a Christmas celebration with family or whatever, you're in the present. You never think about the future or whatever, and you're just like mindful and grateful for the moment that you're having actually right now.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like you're not thinking about what am I going to do next, or you're taking. It's like hitting pause
Exactly.
yeah.
and just
Well,
enjoying.
that leads us to the second article for which you can read, Yassine, and
Exactly.
go ahead.
So
So
the
the second article.
let's dive right into the second article, which is more marketing related and author related. So it kind of combines both of you guys because you're both authors. I'm not. I'm still not, but maybe one day. So basically, the title said, "Cutting their own checks. Authors seek help to plug their own books after cuts by publishers." Writers say investments in book promotion to augment publishers' in-house staff are key to success. The rise in self promotion efforts by author reflects a broader shift in the publishing industry where marketing budgets have been reduced. Authors are increasingly having to act as their own marketers, using their network and resources to make their books stand out in a crowded market. I personally don't have any experience into author life, author marketing, but as I'm on social media, I see a lot and a lot and more and more and more and more and more authors promoting their own book. And for a long time now, actually, for several years, I see
Yeah.
crazy marketing done by themselves.
Well, let's have the opinion of Sherianna. Sherianna as someone who bridges wellness and writing. How do you manage the emotional toll of self promotion while staying
Mm.
true to a deeper purpose of your work?
Yeah, I think it's great that you guys are bringing this topic up because I think it's something authors don't talk about enough. But I think sometimes I've talked to many authors about this, feeling like you get on this treadmill of costs, right? So you produce a book and then you have to market it, which of course costs money. And you think the publisher is going to kick in quite a bit. And it does seem like it's shifted quite a bit the way that they promote. You really don't have control over that. And many people, they do Amazon ads, they do Facebook ads. I don't do any of them personally because my feeling is I'm not going to buy my own book.
Why?
I'm just not. I'm not going to push ads because of basically the royalties I get is going into ad money.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
That's my
you have a point. You have a point, Sheriana. I can share my experience.
yeah.
I wrote several books, three till now. The first two, the first ones, I write about entrepreneurship because I'm an entrepreneur by nature, and the first two books were handled by a team of like publishers and people like that. And I didn't get nearly a penny because I decided to donate whatever. I said to them, listen, guys, I know that you are going to make your money out of this book. So no worries. Please my part of it has to be distributed to groups of students that we're going to elect every year to go into a very high level business school, and we're going to pay for them. So this royalties of the book will pay for them, and we did it, and we love it. I think, to join what you said, you write a book to share a message. And selling or not selling is not another. It's another story. It's a story that is handled by marketers, publishers, and people like that. But you, as an author, you feel that you have the message to get across. But on to Yassine's point, to get across this message, the ways to do it today are very different from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So this last book that I wrote, which his name is Renaissance Now, it brings up the future of humankind, the 3 years future of humankind in the era of hard AI and quantum computing, which will shift the whole paradigm of what we do and what we see and how we see life and how we see our decisions. And for this one, I didn't use any publisher. We decided with the team of Yassine, who is very, very keen in marketing and promoting, because with his over 2 million followers, he has a team of people behind him and pushing for his content. And a book, to me, is a content. So I have to handle it like this. And Yassine showed me the way how to handle it properly, and it was pretty well. So I'm happy to put the message across, to keep the royalties, to do even more publicity around the book, to be able to spread the message, because originally it's what you do and what I do. So spreading the message is more important than the money you get out of it. Some people get to be millionaire with their books, good for them. But for me, as an entrepreneur, not needing that money, I want the message across because I believe it's doing good for humanity, as you're doing, Sherianna, on your end. So what is your feeling between getting paid out of the book or making money out of what you do?
Well, I think that the message, what's most important to me is writing a good book. That is always, I will invest in that 100%.
Totally agree.
And what does that mean? And I have invested in it. It means good editing, not just once or twice, really good editing. I rewrote Just Ask Spirit a couple times because sometimes you just don't have it. I reread it, and then I got a spark of insight, and then it was like, okay, this needs to change. So I rewrote it, and putting 100% into the material that is in that book, so that when somebody reads it, it's going to stand out. That's what's most important to me. I don't want to, I want an idea that's a little different, right? Or a concept or something that other people aren't necessarily talking about. Because a lot of us are writing about similar topics, but in your own. So for me, this is just my approach. I just want to make sure I walk away and know I wrote a damn good book. I know it, and that's and it's out in the world, and what happens with it is what happens with it. Of course, there is a marketing, and then there's a royalty part of that. But for me, I'm not going to. What I do is, for example, with Just Ask Spirit, is I do retreats, and so I go and I speak at places, and these are places that command a lot, larger crowds. So I have, speaking events that I will go around for this 2025. I have retreats, and then I find that really gets the ball rolling in between podcasting and things like that. I don't put a lot into, I'm interested what Yassine thinks of that, but Amazon ads and things like that, because, I don't know. I've tried a little bit here and there, but I find that if you write a good book and people are getting value out of it, they're going to share it. They're going to share it on social media. They're going to share it with their friends. They're going to share it with their loved ones. They're going to buy it as gifts. And that has worked for me.
I mean, Sherianna, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't need to be right, but thank you.
No, I mean,
he agrees.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. But the thing is that, okay, I'm an entrepreneur as well, because of my dad. Thanks to my dad, actually, because he raised me as an entrepreneur as well. I did many different things, but the thing is that you can have, I'm going to say the typical thing that everyone says, you can have a good product, but if you have no one to be able to buy a good product because they don't know about it, who's going to buy it at the end? No one. So I really believe in not maybe put, because there's some authors that do really 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 pushy marketing, and you know that those authors are doing this marketing or are writing that book to be able to make money, so not to give a certain message. So we have to categorize different authors. You have authors that are here only money and not necessarily to transmit a message or whatever, but you have authors as well. You have authors that want to share a story, and you have other authors that want to teach people something different. So you have three different categories in my point of view. So if you have a good book, if you have you have several good books, and you have friends reading those books and friends recommending the book to their friends and their friends to their friends and whatsoever, and it grows like this, but you still need to be able to do at least a bit of marketing to be able to put your ideas in front of millions of people, because your ideas are worth reading. If you believe in what you wrote, I believe that it's worth it to be able to put the means and to put the effort to put your voice out there to millions of people, because it deserves it. So why not? I'm talking about a marketing perspective, because I always thought, I don't know if you remember about this thing, or I don't know if you had this thing or not, but you remember this fidget spinner, that the thing that you grabbed in when you just, it was like
Yes.
an anti-stress thing, or excuse me the term, anti-stress bullshit. It was the
Yeah.
best seller for like 2 or 3 months. Everyone wanted that stupid thing. That was only marketing. It's the easiest thing to do. It had nothing to do with stress or whatsoever. It was just a thing to play with. And they killed it in marketing. But they put their message out there and people bought it. And that company or many companies that did it viral got rich or whatever. So I strongly believe that,
Yes.
for me, an author that has great ideas in mind, that wrote an amazing book, deserves to do great marketing to put their ideas out there online, and millions of people need to see them.
And there is another way of looking at things. I believe is shifting the focus from traditional self promotion to community building, encouraging authors to collaborate and cross promote, creating collective visibility and emotional support. But bear in mind, Yassine, for instance, you are doing chunks of books every day with your reels, with your podcast, etc. Because us
Yes.
as authors, we're writing the books, okay, we are having it written in 9 months, 10 months, probably 12 months sometimes. But at the end, when you look at how the books is diffused, you have the book reading, you have the audiobook, and you have the video book. And you are doing video books all the time, because at the end, if you compound all the knowledge that you provide to your readers, put it in the AI, you can bring the book out of it. I mean, I
Yes.
know people who did it out of just the podcast they do. They compound it and they do a super seller's
Yeah.
book. And I think the influencers, as the writers, as
Yeah.
the whatever you want to call it, are people who provide information and the virality that comes with it. So the
Yes.
virality enhances the ideas of the book or the video or whatever you want to call it, and it's of the same importance as a writer.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, for me, just Ask Spirit is about making sure that we ask for support, making sure that we connect and that we are not alone when it comes to our endeavors, and that we can connect with our spirit guides and we can connect through our emotions. And there have been many wonderful things that have happened to me in the last year, I believe, because I do the practices in the book, things that have just landed in my lap. I've had people reaching out, hey, learned about you, but I am behind the scenes asking Spirit, okay, Spirit, I give you permission to help me, to assist me and the getting this book in as many people's hands as possible. So I do my part in that way. And then I watch, and you have to pay attention and you have to listen. And you have to create space for collaboration. Um, and I've had wonderful things happen, where people have kindly, like you said, who have large platforms, or they come on my platform So yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm just not a fan of the Amazon ads. I'm just telling you. I know. You seen that.
You don't like
I'm
Amazon
just,
ads.
I'm just saying. I'm not a big
Just
fan. I've
saying.
seen a lot of
Just
offers
saying.
for a lot of money.
Try,
I
but just try. Don't you try.
So you guys are both in agreement there. You don't know how many people I talk to. They pour money into those ads and they say, "I feel like I'm buying my own book." I'm just
Yeah.
saying. They're on my show all the time. I interview them and I'm helping to support them. And so sometimes I do have to just kind of pull back and look at, okay, you could just keep spending, spending, spending. But I do think you have to look at what's going out, what's coming in. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think Yassine, it brings up two ideas for us. One is for
Yeah,
you, because
yeah.
with your Mavericks Media company, you can develop like a wellness-focused marketing programs that would be tailored to for others, integrating mental health strategies that Sherianna talks about. It could be also content planning tools for the time management techniques to support sustainable self-promotion of people like Ariana. And me, I would leverage AI-driven platforms to create personalized promotional plans for authors, freeing them for marketing and this overwhelm of marketing, and allowing them to focus on creativity while staying visible in a crowded market, because there's a lot of voice, a
It's
lot of
very crowded. Yeah.
very crowded, and we could do this, Yasina. This one for you and one for
Maybe,
me.
yeah, maybe.
What do you think?
Well, yeah. Yeah. No, it's a very, very, very crowded. And I agree. You see people pushing, 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 and there's nothing worse to me than getting a book and having it be
Mhm.
dense. It just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean. I'm not gonna follow that author. I'm not gonna buy again. I have seen so many people that are really great marketers. I get the book, and it's like I'm like, you're kidding me. Like I just for me, it's important to me to have my I really think of myself as an author primarily, as a writer, and really giving good quality content there. I don't ever want somebody to get the book in the mail and be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's it." You know what I mean? Or hit bestseller for 3 days. I mean, there's a lot of people calling themselves bestsellers and they hit bestseller for 3 maybe a day, and now they're a bestseller. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's what do you think about that? A lot
Well,
of
they
people
put the
do that.
marketing message across. At the end of the day,
They're
you cannot say
wrestlers
that they
these
lied.
days.
They were bestsellers
I'm
for even 2 hours, but they were bestsellers. And I
they
think that's their way to put their message across, because every one of us has a way to promote whatever he promotes. And yeah, you can say, okay, that's not really a bestseller, which is for a period of 1 day or 2 days, or like you say, 3 days. But those people promote their book the way they want. If there are other people that want to scrutinize the book, they can do it. But at the end, if they make their message cross with the screen or cross whatever publicity they're doing around the book, I think it's good for them. So it's good for them to do that.
Exactly.
yeah,
Everyone has their own tool and ability to make their book go viral. But actually, this comes to the third article, which
okay.
Karim is gonna talk about, because this is gonna maybe change this publishing era. Let's say, because now we're changing many different eras thanks to AI. But is the publishing era is gonna change with AI? Karim, I'm gonna let you introduce the topic.
Yeah, let me handle this article. So, the article title is How AI is Accelerating and Devaluing Book Publishing. And the book treats about three major points. The first point is AI has the power to pump out words in record speed, which is true. Look at generative AI, what magic it's doing. The second point is that lovers of LLMs are pushing into the traditional publishing system, building their own book publishing entities. I think has to be discussed. And the goal here is very simple: to increase the number of books being published at a rate that could potentially drown out quality work. Very, very, very interesting topic. So, my question to you, Sherianna, as a wellness writer deeply connected to emotional authenticity, how do you think AI generated books impact readers' ability to find meaningful, soul enriching content?
Yeah. I mean, this is a topic I know the publishers are concerned about, the traditional publishers, and looking at, for lack of a better word, maybe ways to regulate that. I'm also a psychology professor, so I deal with this all the time because I have students that write papers and, I have little tools and apps to tell me how much was taken from AI. So now, my whole gradings, I have to look at things all the time, how much, and I also have had to reassess what's acceptable amount, what's too much, looking at that. So I think AI is here. I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think resisting it is not going to help. Again, I know it sounds so like airy fairy, but I just trust my guides. Well, I really do. Do the practices every day, and I connect and just lead me. And I think technology is going to take off. That we're going into the age of Aquarius. They've talked about that. Things are going to speed up. They're going to be fast. Old systems are going to be broken down. New systems will be put in place. And hold on to put your seatbelt on. It's like you either going to jump on and learn, and that's what I've been doing as a professor, is learning about these tools and learning how they work. I mean, and taking advantage of the workshops that are available. I think getting educated is important. But in terms of like writing, I mean, it is what it's going to change things for sure. But I mean, someone like me, maybe I could pump out more books. I don't know.
I totally agree.
I mean,
Totally agree with you,
yeah,
Shariana. It's the way you're going to use it to be able to make more books, the way you're going to use it to share more knowledge and make your work easier, share faster, and maybe share better. That's what I really believe in.
Yes,
okay,
let me tell
yeah,
you a story that happened to me. I was it was about 3, 4 weeks ago. I was in a big fair about tech because I'm a tech guy by roots, and I was having an interview with a very nice gentleman in his stand, and we were talking about the book Renaissance Now, and he was. Telling me, you remember, Karim? We ought to work on a book together. And I said, you see, his name was Mohammed, is a very good friend of mine, a very successful entrepreneur. And I said to him, listen, I believe this is the last book I write, because the next will be auto-generated with my content. Because what I share with the public in my social media accounts, although I have probably 100 times less followers than Yassine, is the content I believe in and I share. So this content will be rearranged and put in a book because that's me. That's me on a day-to-day basis on a long run. So what I share about the tech and particularly biotech that we handle in our company, speaking about nutrition related to metabolism, is something that I very deeply believe inside me, or so does Yassine. So all this content will be packed over the sharing that we have on video, where you are like Yassine, a very important content creator. And I think it would be probably more authenticity in the message, but less effort in the way you write. Because
yeah,
this last book I wrote was written totally by me, corrected by an AI. I used AI to correct the phrases, to correct the sentences, to make it faster corrected and so on before I hand it over to people to correct it as a human people. And it's cheaper also. But I think for me is the last one. But that doesn't mean that books won't be written again, because if I give the analogy with cars, you see now cars are more and more electric. And by some countries, like say Europe, probably in the US, they might make them electric before 2030. And in China, that's the case. So you will have old cars, atmospheric engine cars, running around like this in fancy places, and you're going to go and watch the race of those cars. as well as the writer. You will have writers that are writing with their own hands, and we can certify they can be a certified human author that highlights books written by real authors, celebrating emotional authenticity and craftsmanship in storytelling, for instance. But there will be a certain category of people. You see what I mean? And the
Yeah.
vast majority, and maybe both people are going to be even more heard about, because there will be a smaller chunk
Yeah.
of the people doing it. What do you
Well,
think?
let's face it. I mean, right now, honestly, the traditional publishing route, in my opinion, takes too damn long. I mean, by the time my
That's
book
another
is
story.
published, I could have written another book. I mean, and I have ideas. I do. I mean, I've got books I could be, running with. I could write easily keep writing a book a year. But it's traditional publishing slows me down.
Mhm.
It slows me down because it takes so damn long to get the damn thing published. So yeah, I mean, if AI can speed up that process, whether it's editorial or I'm not really sure where the hiccups are, but I welcome let's get the show on the road here because honestly, I could have written more by now.
Yeah, what do you think, Yatin?
Yeah,
What's that?
Very quiet.
Sharina, I'm impressed. You could have wrote more after 11 books?
Oh God, yeah.
Wow, that's
God, yeah.
that's
I mean,
amazing.
I've written to my second book, the first one I self published. That's how I got noticed. Barely anybody bought that book. I did zero marketing. I didn't even know what I was doing. But like I said, this is where I'm connected to spirit. I land in a situation where somebody so happens to find out I self-published a book. The sales were terrible, but they knew me as a person and they knew what I was about and they knew my authenticity. And there are still people that look for that. I mean, I know anybody can write a book, but there are still companies that they do care about
Mhm.
that, or teams. And so they approached me because they said, "You do this because it's what I do. It's not just what I talk about. It's what I do." And they said, "Will you write for us?" I said, "Absolutely." They said, "You have 5 weeks." So I wrote my second book in 5 weeks. Now I was like, I can do that. And then they said, "Oh my gosh, you did that so well. Will you write another one?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "You have 9 weeks." So I wrote another one. And so, after that, I was like, "Okay, guys, uncle, like, give me a little bit of space." But it was because it was topics that they wanted and they just wanted
Yeah.
a quick turnaround on at that point. Things have changed a lot in the industry because now you have a lot of independent stores buying books, and whereas Barnes and Noble used to function more like, hey, holistically, like every Barnes and Noble will have Emotional Detox or Just Ask Spirit, and now it's like you have buyers for every store who have to make, you know what I mean? So you might be in one store and not another store. So that's been a big change because when I first started writing, it was like, oh, great, I'm in Barnes and Noble. And that meant just like globally. But
Well, let
now
me
it's
tell you
like,
something. I
yeah,
have three points to make uh,
yeah,
regarding what you just said and regarding the constant advancement of AI. I think with the AI, the last mile of AI is the mile about being sentient, which
yeah,
is bringing emotions and originality to people. But that doesn't mean that AI cannot mimic that, because 20 years ago you had a movie called Her, maybe you've heard of it, where a guy fell in love with an AI talking to her every single day. That was about emotion. Love is an emotional tie. Originality can be also harnessed, but today AI can produce a whole symphony. But that's my first point. So it's the last bastion for AI. All the rest will be done in a very fast way, and mimicking this bastion will be possible and is possible today. I can tell you,
yeah,
we find it out in our laboratory every single day. Second is that we can have platforms that can induce AI human hybrid publishing tools that will allow writer to harness AI for assistance like research or editing without compromising their personal voice or and originality. So this hybrid mode could people together in this AI era. And the third point that I want to mention is that to develop reader communities or marketplaces that prioritize and curate emotionally impactful human created books. That's what I said in the beginning, emphasizing the quality of the information that they bring in up, the certainness of the information they bring in up to the quantity. And I think those 3 points will put the books along with the writer along with AI in a kind of hybrid mode.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could definitely see there's room, put it this way, there's room for
Mhm.
growth. Definite room for growth in the industry. And as you mentioned earlier, Carmen, the costs. And I think AI can curb those costs. And, you know, everybody has a first time. Like everybody has a first book or a first and where you're like, oh gosh, you know, almost like embarrassed, like, oh God, please don't nobody read that. Just that was like my, you know, and that was like me, my first one. I was like, I think part of it, I didn't market it because I wasn't even like confident about it. You know, it was like, ooh, I was just trying.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just like my first shot here, like really nothing going on over here. But it's you know, everybody starts somewhere and you have to just do it. And then once you get the hang of it, of course, like anything, you're going to get better at it.
Exactly.
And what is the call? What is it that you call it? It's a syndrome when you feel that you're not
Oh,
worthy to
imposter?
Imposter.
And so,
imposter syndrome. Absolutely,
Everyone has the
the imposter
imposter
syndrome.
syndrome at some point.
And you see, Yassine, and
you think?
I learned in the hard way in the beginning when I became an entrepreneur. I had this imposter syndrome when I was proposing my solutions to clients that were banks at the time, telecom companies, security ministers, and so on. But I learned that having this imposter syndrome can push you or can drain you down. So I learned to wipe it out of my life. So what I'm sharing today in my social networks, as you do, Yassine, and you are the perfect example of that imposter syndrome initially. Why? Because I know you since you're growing. You're together with me doing sports all the time. We go to Club Med. You always stay with me. You don't go to do those fancy shows like your sisters. You don't want to appear. You were very, I would say,
I was
shy,
introverted.
kind of shy,
I was introverted.
introvert and shy, and
You're
you're
still
still,
introverted? Are you
yeah.
still
But when
introverted?
you go out on the
Not
on
at
the
all.
on the screen, you are 100% yourself from the inside that you bring to the outside.
Exactly. Exactly.
And your imposter syndrome becomes a force, and a force for good as long as you use it for good. And when you use it for good, is even stronger and stronger because you use it for good purpose to align. I mean, I know people that know you. That some are there are very poor people in the neighborhoods in the suburbs, and some of them are ministers handling very big things in the
Mhm.
governments. So they all whenever I met someone or you meet someone or meet you on the street, I mean, you can feel when people stop you on the street and say, Can I take a picture of you? Hi, Mamba Fit, how are
Mhm.
you? Etc. Etc. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the result of the purpose of your life.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. It's that we all start thinking that we're kind of imposters. We have this imposter syndrome, but at some point, things get real, and at some point, we see the impact that we're actually having on people, and that's when we realize that we're going on the right way. We're taking the right train towards a better us, let's say. And yeah, basically, I loved it because, like you said, Sherianna, you said if I was still introverted, then I said no. But maybe inside of me, I'm still a bit introverted. But my will today is to be able to inspire more people, introverted or not. I kind of go out of my comfort zone every time I take my phone to film something, or every time I go in like in front of thousands of people and give speeches and do many of those things, just because going out of my comfort zone, like my dad taught me since the beginning, since he raised me, it's like the most beautiful thing you could do, because you're going to find something that you never experienced before. And for me, it's this sensation of how do I call it, this, the sensation of being scared of failing, but when you throw yourself out there and you succeed in what you thought you're gonna do, it's the most beautiful and the most amazing emotion you could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Wow.
That's
That was
powerful.
powerful.
Right?
I'm going to clap. I'm gonna clap for you. That was great.
Well, tell us where people can find you.
Well, it's my name, Sheriannaboyle.com. That's where you can find me. My latest book is justaskspirit.com, but all my books are everywhere where all books are sold. Sheriannaboyle.com. And come to a retreat. I do retreats, but
Amazing.
wherever you are. And
And you do some Instagram, right?
of course,
Oh,
Sherianna.
Okay, of course. So tell us about it.
We'll leave everything.
Come along.
It's going to be in the description below. Sherianna, thank you so much for your time. It was an amazing moment that we had. I hope the audience as well enjoyed this amazing moment that we had. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification button so you don't miss the next episode.
Yeah, and I hope you have such a tremendous time to watching this episode that we had it doing it for you guys. And Sherianna, thank you again for being around and raising your voice in this whole region. And we're so thrilled to have you and to get to keep on our relation together.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.